I will be discussing the stretch shortening cycle as it pertains to the clean and jerk lift of the sport of Olympic weightlifting.
Come on. You got it.
The stretch shortening cycle is a process by which the body stores and releases energy through the form of muscular contraction. When a muscle contraction is preceded by an eccentric muscle contraction or a pre-stretch, the resulting muscle action can create greater tension. Or in other words, when force is applied to the body, muscles and tendons stretch and capture energy, like a rubber band. The stretch corrects itself because the muscle spindles detect change in muscle length, and the Golgi tendon organs inside of the muscle detect change in muscle length and tension. And from this, the muscle spindle causes a greater contraction when this force is absorbed over a relatively small amount of time in a stretch. The stretch shortening cycle increases force and power output while reducing energy demands and helps support muscular efficiency in a multitude of actions, especially here in a sport as demanding and technique requiring as Olympic weightlifting. There are actually several points in the clean and jerk in which the stretch shortening cycle is crucial to maintaining proper technique and a successful lift that uses more weight for less effort. So to begin, the start position is actually one of these first areas. So you will see me get set in my start position, and then I will lift my glutes up in the air, creating a stretch in my hamstrings, glutes, and spinal erectors before returning to get set against the bar and creating tension against it to begin the liftoff. Then, perhaps the most important area of stretch shortening cycle in the lift is what's known in weightlifting as the double knee bend. Similarly, at this position in a deadlift, one would want stiffer legs and a more upright back when locking out the bar. However, in a clean, we perform what's called a double knee bend, keeping the knees slightly bent and the shoulders in front of the bar and over it to create a stretch in the hamstrings and glutes before actively engaging in a powerful and violent hip extension against the bar. So that would be demonstrated in slow motion and demonstrating the double knee bend again here. It's very similar to the counter movement of a jump, where one would stretch their muscles before actively engaging in hip extension. Then, when I'm pulling myself underneath the bar, I use the stretch shortening cycle by bouncing out of a very, very deep squat. Obviously, squatting deeper is much harder, but when used to this reactive strength, I can actually find assistance in it, and even though this lift is very heavy, I bounce 3 times before standing up out of it. And by bouncing very deep in a squat, I'm able to stretch my hamstrings and quadriceps a great bit to produce more muscle force. And next, also similar to the counter movement of a jump, is the dip of the jerk. So before jerking the barbell overhead, I will actively engage in an eccentric motion, stretching my hamstrings and quadriceps and lowering the bar before once again engaging in very fast hip extension against the bar to finish with it overhead. As mentioned previously, How long the stretch is held for in the stretch shortening cycle affects the power output of the subsequent muscular concentric contraction. So even though it takes 6 seconds for the muscle to completely relax when held in a stretch, holding for longer than 1 second when max power output is desired can affect significantly the resultant power output of the muscular contraction. Here we are going to be comparing two jerk lifts, with the dip in the bottom lift lasting 7/100ths of a second longer than that of the top lift. So we're going to analyze them in slow motion. The top lift went much better with a shorter dip. Play again in full speed.
You got it.
And you can tell that the lower lift has much less power output and did not go as well, and was not as fast on the way up.